Everybody, it's your boy Deshaun here with an Average Joe Sports Tour de France race rest day recap. It's been a relatively exciting Tour de France so far. Actually, it's been exciting, but it's also been kind of the same old stuff, different day in the Tour de France so far in the first 9 days of the tour. I'm gonna get more in depth into how I feel about it, but got a couple subjects here that I'm gonna plug away at for right now. So first thing we're gonna start with is the key losses in the Tour de France. Now again, there's a lot of riders who have been out who are actually out of the tour now for various amounts of reasons, time limits, injuries, and so on and so forth. But really, we're just gonna focus on the big names. So to start out. Fresh right out the gate, Alejandro Valverde from Team Movistar, and also Nairo Quintana's right-hand man, his main domestique to get him through the main parts of the mountain stages, crashes out in the time trial. Very rainy and wet time trial to boot. Again, we'll get more into the safety of the tour as a whole here later on in the vlog. So next, we got Mark Cavendish, who crashed out towards the finish line at stage 4. Peter Sagan, who wound up finishing, I believe, 3rd in that exact same stage, wound up getting disqualified for ultimately interference. Again, it's tough to say whether or not that DQ was granted. And again, we'll get into that into more sketchy calls in the Tour de France later on as well. Also, Team Sky lost the main domestique in Geraint Thomas in stage 9. Sorry, not in stage 9. No. So yes, in stage 9 as well. So yesterday's stage during a descent as well. Let's see here. We also lost Richie Porte. Team BMC lost their leader in Richie Porte. Richie Porte also rode for Team Sky and was also Rich Froome's. Was also Froome's main running mate, also in the mountains in that practically undefeatable Team Sky trade. So that's a tough loss for BMC. So for them, it's every rider for themselves. Speaking of stage 9, Team FDJ. For those of you guys who don't know, that's Team Française de Jeu. That's one of the teams one of the many French teams you'll see in the tour that makes constant appearances. They started out as a sprinting team, and they seem to have made the switch to the GC a little bit this year. So that's kind of cool. But they lost 4 riders due to the time limit. For those of you guys who aren't as sure as what the time limit actually is, so in every stage there actually is in fact a time cap, and it's usually 5% of the winner's total time. So basically, so usually the cap is between 25 and 40 minutes or so. So it sounds like those 4 riders from Team Française de Jeu wound up finishing outside of the time. And one of them included their leader, Armand, I believe is his last name. And so it's unfortunate for them. But then again, stage 9 was a really, really tough stage for everybody. It was just nothing but climbs. So seeing people finish outside of the time limit is quite normal. So on that, seeing that we're looking at the key losses, let's look at some of the things that happened over the course of this first 9 days of the tour. We'll just start it back from the top. The time trial opener for stage 1. It was not a prologue. Some years it's a prologue. Other years it's not. So this year it was actually just stage 1 time trial. In my opinion, I actually think that's been the most dangerous of stages out of all 9 stages of the tour so far. Mainly because I think they could have actually waited and held off to a different point of the day where the actual time trial course would have been a lot drier. I mean, you had a rider slipping at the start gate, coming down the little decline from the start gate. That should have been your first signal of saying, hey, you know what? We might want to just take a minute, take a breath, take a breath here. I know they have the permits for the entire day, so it's not like they couldn't have been like, hey, we're gonna wait 2 hours. That way we can get through this particular cycle of rain. There's a 4-hour hole in between weather patterns where it's supposed to be nicer. There's not a lot of rain. There might be some more wind, but the playing field will be a lot more level because it'll be a lot drier. So, because to lose a guy like Valverde basically right out the gate, that's not the way you want to start your tour. It's not. And also, on a time trial, who beefs it that hard and busts an ACL and fractures their leg? I mean, that stuff only happens when the field of play is not suitable for a fair game. That's ultimately my opinion on that. I know a lot of people are going to go, well, the barricades, they're outdated, they're this, they're that. I'm like, yeah, but the curb, which is what Valverde's leg wound up hitting underneath the barrier, completely underneath the barrier, the curb has always been there, right? You put a hay bale there, sure, okay, maybe it absorbs some more of the blow, but maybe he winds up snapping his leg completely in half, busting all of the ligaments in his knee, and breaking his ankle in the process. So again, it's a calculated risk, but I think from a barricades perspective, I don't personally think that the barricades are too old school. I think it creates a bigger threat later on, like in the sprint stages. So you got to find a way to make the legs so they're not facing out towards the road. But again, that's something that they do need fixing. But I don't think it's as bad as we've made it as viewers and the commentators at NBC Sportsnet. Again, Dynamite Crew, and they know a whole lot more about the sport than I do. I'm just a guy with a sports vlog in his wife's sewing room. So I mean, what you gonna do? But I think that was my number one safety concern of this whole of the tour as it stands now. Crashes on the road will happen. That's part of the sport. You hate to see it happen. You see bunch crashes all the time. Those things do happen. They're a part of the tour. You never want to see what happened to Richie Porte ever happen, because that could have ended a whole lot worse. I'm sure if they had asked Porte if he could race, he would have said, "Yeah, give me a bike and let me finish out the stage." But at that point, the doctor said, "Hey, for safety concerns, we actually have to pull you out." Like it's not every day that they just go, "You know what? We got to go." Like a guy got hit by a car, went ass over tea kettle into some barbed wires, and was a bloody mess on a stage of the tour once. He winds up finishing the race, wins most aggressive rider. He technically finishes outside of the time limit, but the race organizer said the boy raced so hard with as many injuries as he had, we're going to allow him to start the next stage. He wound up not starting the next stage, but he wasn't disqualified based on time limit. So again, these things ultimately do happen. I mean, Richie Porte's crash, basically he hit some soft gravel going in on the decline. On the decline of the final mountain stage of the day going to finish, and just hit some soft gravel. Went ass over tea kettle all the way across to the other side, where he winds up getting ran over by another cyclist who couldn't get out of the way, and then winds up hitting a rock face at the same time. Back first. He looked like he made a gigantic C and then like a Y, and like there might have been a U in there somewhere. I don't know. It was gnarly. I mean, it was good to see that he was moving his legs a little bit and moving his arms. I know he broke a lot of things. So I wish him nothing but the best and a speedy recovery. Because I really was hoping to actually see a Froome battle, because they know each other so well. And I think if those two had been on a big mountain stage together, they would have been racing each other so hard that I think they would actually want to pulling away from everybody else. So that would have been a cool sight to see. Unfortunately, we don't get to see that happen. Again, the finish yesterday was very sketchy, to say the least. I mean, I wouldn't be brave enough to do it. I can tell you that much. I mean, this guy who's sitting in his wife's sewing room with a sports vlog. So again, take it how you will. I don't claim to be a professional. I don't. I just know what I know based on what I watch. There aren't a lot of descents that are that sketchy. A lot. I know. We were told yesterday that the particular climb, and again, I'm drawing a blank on the climb. I apologize. But this particular climb is not used in the Tour de France very often. Matter of fact, I think they said this was the second time since the mid '70s. I think that they used this climb as a part of the tour. And I think that year, the time they did it last it was just a mountaintop finish. It wasn't a it wasn't a finish down into the valley and into the city afterwards. So again, you take it for what you will. You're gonna have climbs that are sketchy. You're gonna have descents that are sketchy. These men are professionals. They put their lives on the line to put on a great show so that we, the people, are entertained. So when things like that happen and blood sometimes spills on the asphalt, hey man, it happens. In my honest opinion, the tour as a whole is about as safe as you're gonna get. I mean, now helmets are required the entire part of the tour. And again, and people go, well, really? Because I thought helmets were required in the Tour de France since the dawning of time. Well, no, they have not been. I mean, I remember back in, I think it was, I want to say it was either 2000, it was either 2003, between 2003 and 2007-ish, that basically the rules were kind of like, on a flat stage, you got to wear your helmets the entire time. And on mountaintop finishes, on the last climb of the day, you were actually allowed to take your helmet off and ride up, because again, it's mountaintop finish. You're not going to be going down the hill. So there was no need for you to necessarily no need for you to wear a helmet. So again, helmets were for the most part optional. So again, we're talking 10, 12, almost 15 years ago now. So I mean, again, this is on TV back in the OLN days of the Tour de France being broadcast. So the idea that the tour is, people think that this year's tour is more dangerous. I don't necessarily agree with that, because again, I don't know how much safer you can get. Sure, you can get better barriers. That's one solution. But again, these riders are liable to break a leg, break a shoulder, break a wrist on any given stage. So I mean, to say that the barriers are the main issue, I think it's not complete garbage, but it's somewhat garbage. That's how I feel about the safety of the tour. Again, it can't get much safer than it is, unless you want them to wear shoulder pads on descents, go on mountain stages. That's about it, really. And I don't want to necessarily see Mad Max on bicycles. I'm sure some people would, but that doesn't sound entertaining to me. So on the same subject of safety, but kind of an offshoot. In stage 4, for those of you probably if you didn't see it while watching the tour, you probably saw many highlights. There was a collision between Peter Sagan and Mark Cavendish right at the finish line of the sprint stage. I wouldn't necessarily say that the DQ was warranted. I wouldn't go that far, but I also understand why the DQ was set, because it's not so much that you're seeing two sprinters kind of battle it out, and there's only so much real estate on the road. But I also think it just sets a tone for the sprint stages later on in the tour, specifically the final race on the Champs-Élysées in Paris. So I think they're trying to let everybody know, hey, we want everybody to race clean, we want everybody to race fair. Stay in your lane. Don't so much focus on riding in a straight line, which is something that the sprinters sometimes follow to a degree. But again, much like in any sort of road racing with cars and such, rubbing is racing. I mean, that's how it is. And sometimes those rubs wind up, with a few scrapes on the pavement there. So these things do happen. I don't necessarily agree with the DQ, but at the same time, I sort of get it. I think it's a little ticky-tack, considering that I've seen tours where Mark Cavendish himself has headbutted fools on a sprint, on a middle of the race sprint, just headbutting fools. So I mean, again, take it how you will. You know, two big sprinting stars wind up leaving the tour at the end of the same stage. Again, they're friends. It was completely accidental. Sagan, like the true class gentleman that he is, went over directly after the finish of that stage. Went over to check on his buddy Mark Cavendish, and Cavo was like, "Hey, it's racing. It's a part of what it is. Sure, I didn't like the elbow mate, but hey, you know, it is what it is, and I think we can all move on from it. I would never say, excuse me, I would never say Sagan is a dirty racer by any stretch of the imagination. He's actually he's a very entertaining racer, and two, he generally runs a pretty clean sprint. He's also got amazing balance for being on a bicycle. It's hard. It's going to be very difficult to knock him off a bike, plain and simple. So those are my opinions on those things. So the next subject is Chris Froome versus the field, and really it's Chris Froome and Team Sky versus the field. Team Sky has had the yellow jersey since the since the individual time trial in stage 1. Geraint Thomas had it for a couple of days, and now Chris Froome has had it since the yellow jersey changed hands from Geraint Thomas to Chris Froome. So in Chris Froome's wake, we all know Chris Froome is sitting in the leader's box, and Fabio Aru from, oh boy, I'm drawing a blank on what team he's from. He is behind him by 18 seconds. You've got Nairo Quintana all the way down in 8th, 2 minutes 13 seconds, and then who I kind of figured to be a semi-dark horse, but an extreme long shot, and Alberto Contador lost a ton of time on stage 9. He's sitting in 12th at 5 minutes and 15 seconds. BMC again lost Richie Porte, so they're done. I think Quintana is probably a little shell-shocked, so I think Quintana and Team Movistar, they're teetering on the brink here. We'll see what happens here once the tour basically just keeps going up, and up, pretty much starting tomorrow. And Aru, he's showing that he's not scared of nobody. He don't care who Chris Froome is. He does not care. He's like, so I'll attack him anyway. I don't care. But the problem is Aru showed his cards too early. I think he tried to go for gold in, I think it was like stage 5 or stage 6 or something like that. He had a pretty mean breakaway to get himself up in the thing, and Froome said, "Hey, we've got our eyes on Aru. We now know what he's capable of. Basically, wherever he goes, Team Sky goes." So ultimately, the question comes down to, how do you beat Team Sky? Well, you pray for sickness. That's what it's. You pray for sickness. You pray for injuries. That's what it's sounding like. We'll see how Froome does here with one less rider, his main guy, to get him up and over the mountains. I think you're going to see Froome isolated a lot, just like we did in stage 9. So we'll see what happens here over the course of the rest of the tour. Just some quick points here. One main question I've always had, but I never seem to get answered, no matter how many times I email or do the Ask Bob Key segment, is why are the sprint points on mountain stages between 2 mountain climbs? So like if there's a 6-climb day, right, they'll put the sprint point at between climbs 3 and climbs 4. Like, why though? You know what I'm saying? Like, why do that? You know there ain't gonna be no sprinters at that halfway sprint point. Put that joint at the beginning, like in the first like 20K. Let them go balls to the wall, get that sprint point, and then fall into the back and get out of everybody's way. I understand that you've got some guys who are kind of hybrids between climbers and sprinters, like a Peter Sagan and a Tor Hoshoff. I get that, but at the same time, those people are so few and far between that it actually kind of makes a sprinter's life a living hell. It's like, okay, well, I guess we got to try to drag ourselves across these first 3 mountain stages. to go get 6 points. Why? So my solution is either A, put it at the very beginning, like right at kilometer 0 when you draw the flag and you say let's go. All the sprint teams go and do their thing. You know, the GC guys just kind of hang back, let them do their thing. Boom, sprint points done. Cool. Hey guys, thanks. Have fun. GTFO, and now the race can really continue. Or you make that medium sprint point. You make that point so huge that the sprinter teams have no choice but to at least go out there and try. Make their teams a little bit more well-rounded, right? But I don't think any of that's going to happen. They seem to like things the way they are, but that would just be my solution. Last subject here. I know we've gone 20 minutes here, almost 20. It'll be probably about 25 minutes by the time I'm done. Sorry, folks. But if I were the head of the Tour de France and I had to make stages, personally for me, I would actually make the entire first week, the first 9 days really would be just all about the sprint. We're just gonna let these sprinters battle for green. We're gonna let them battle for yellow. Boom, boom, boom. First 8 stages, pow. It's gonna be all about the sprinters. Stage 9 be the time trial, right? Stage 9 be the time trial going into the rest day. That way, everyone kind of gets 2 days off, sort of, because again, on the time trial, look. The best of the best are going to be the ones who are going to be in the hunt for not only to win that particular stage, but to also get the yellow jersey and let the sprinters know, hey guys, thanks for playing. I'm glad you guys have fun battling for both green and yellow. Now it's time for the real teams to take over. I think there would be it would give me great joy. I know that much. I'm sure it would bring the sprinters great joy because in the past, the first like 6 stages have been just sprints right from the get-go. And there's something about sprinters racing for yellow. Like, it gets everybody super amped. There's a little bit more danger, I'll admit, but at the same time, they're battling for more than just the green points jersey. They're battling to be considered a leader in the Tour, which for a lot of those guys, that's a career year. That's a signing bonus. That's more money in their pocket. That's more money in the team's pocket. So I think that's good. So, again, make the first week all about the sprinters. Well, that's all I got for my stage 10 or day 10 / rest day recap here. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And, yeah, talk to you later.